a Democratic president took over, Andrew Johnson. First thing he did is went down and took away the guns of the blacks who were given this property throughout South Carolina, Florida, and Georgia. And then they came back and took away their property. The KKK, Democrats. Jim Crow, Democrats. And guess what? The KKK was actually eliminated in 1985, until Woodrow Wilson, Democratic president, decided to bring it back with Birth of the Nation that he showed in the White House. And a few years later, it was Democrats who burned Wall Street down, Democratic KKK. Slavery was and still is an evil. Whether it's 883 years of history in our nation, or the prior 3,000 years of history, or the presence today around the world. Reparation is divisive. It speaks to the fact that we are a hapless, hopeless race that never did anything but wait for white people to show up and help us. And it's a falsehood. It's demeaning my parents' generation, that one of the greatest generations in the history of our country. We have a history of millions of middle class and wealthy Black Americans throughout our 20th century who achieved their dreams. Instead of a theory, I'd like to share the reality of a race whose history of success in America has been stolen, and what we can do to repay that damage. I grew up in the Deep South, Tallahassee, in the 50s and 60s, where we believed in commanding respect, not begging or asking for it. We did that by meritocracy, by winning, not just in sports and entertainment, but in every discipline: math, science, exploration, innovation, farming, enterprise. We had a reputation, as the Asian community today has a reputation of winning, respect. That was the Black community back in the 60s. We led our country in the growth of the middle class, led our country in men matriculating from college, led our country in men matriculating from college, men committed to marriage over 70%, and percentage of entrepreneurs over 40%. That 40% equated to 50 to 60% of Black Americans across our country, from New York to Tallahassee to Texas to California, part of the middle class. I grew up in that middle class in the 50s. And believe me, they were not sitting back waiting for white people to give them a break. They were making it. I remember Perkins Service Station, Speed Grocery Store, Baker's Pharmacy, FAMU Hospital, where only Black doctors and nurses worked. We were taught about pride in our country, pride in our race. We were taught about Christus Addis, the first American martyr who died in the Revolutionary War, the Tuskegee Airmen, and over 100,000 Black men who fought the wars against the godless ideology of Marxism and socialism and communism. Those same ideologies now thriving in our educational institutions. We were taught to recognize and appreciate progress. In 1973, entered the NFL, no Black quarterbacks, middle linebackers, free safety, because those are white thinking positions. 40 years later, we're now electing a president of the United States who's a Black man, vice president of the United States, a Black woman. And we say there's no progress. Only those who say there's no progress, those who do not want progress. The greatest gift that we had with President Obama was our American people saying, finally, we can close this chapter. Finally, we can move forward. And what have we done since? That has divided us even more, with critical race theory being introduced around the same time. We have a community now that lives the American dream, look around this room and see the middle class that we have developed and more. And yet we tell those who are striving to get where we are that they can't because white people won't let them. That to me is treacherous, it's traitors. For us to tell others who want the American dream that they can't achieve it because other people with a white skin won't let them do that. If you want to repay the Black American community, give us back our history. It was Karl Marx who said, the first battleground is rewriting of history. And that's exactly what's been happening. You take away our history, you take away pride in our past, appreciation for our present, and a vision for our future. And that's what you're seeing in Chicago, Baltimore, Ferguson. Every place Democrats oversee a Black community is misery. And we're gonna blame white people? How about an ideology? How about we take ownership, educate our young people again, give them jobs opportunities again, tell them that the way to get in this country is through free market, Allow them to take away the regulations, allow them to run their own businesses. Don't burn down their businesses every year because a white police shoots a black person. When you have black people, 93% of the thousands of black people being killed are by other black people. Crime is a true issue. And with that being said, we are not a hapless, hopeless race. We're just like everybody else. Give us a break and we'll make it happen. Stand back and you see how great our nation, our community truly is. Give us an opportunity. We'll get that done, and I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. For what purpose does Mr. Correa seek recognition?
Mr. Chairman, I move to strike the last word.
Gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Chairman,